Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joining me today from the Department of Trade Consumer Protection, it's Michelle. She's back and she's talking today about Applecare scams. And interesting enough, I had this scam happen to me. I was not a victim of it, but it is very interesting. Michelle, welcome back to the show first, but just let me ramble on here for a little bit. But welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Jeremy.
Yeah, this is a messy, a very messy scam and very persistent at that. Tell us a little bit about this and what are you hearing?
Well, this is one I can speak from personal experience as well. You and I have that in common on this scam, and it is incredibly aggressive. You use the polite word persistent, but I'm just going to call it aggressive. So this is a classic tech support scam. We've seen it over the years in the form of Microsoft and different scammers calling you to say that your computer's has a virus and give them access. Well, now because so many people have Apple devices, of course, they've expanded their imposter nature, and they're representing that they're calling from Apple and the Applecare portion of Apple, and that you need to respond to them because there's a problem with either your iTunes or your iCloud account, and those are incredibly useful if you have Apple devices, and people depend on those, so you don't want trouble with that. Well, remember, with all imposter scams, they are acting as either government or big known company that many people interact with, and they want you to believe that it's really them and that there would be some problem with the issues that you have, so that way you would be responding. Well, during this aggression, they of course are asking you to verify information, press 1 to talk to a representative, press another number to get off a list, and we know from all past telemarketing scams that too is a big do not do. The uniqueness with this, where I say the aggression comes in, is we've heard from consumers that if they press 1, that turn around within the next hour, they got 12 calls, just bang, bang, bang. Well, I didn't press any buttons. I just kept hanging up the phone because we're all home more, so we're answering our phones more often. And they did not stop for an hour, just ring, 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 basically every minute. And then it's calmed down for an hour or so, and then it picked back up. But in one evening, we easily had 20 phone calls at our household.
Yeah, we did as well. My wife and I both received those, and we kept talking about it, or kept saying, it was very interesting that, how aggressive it is. It's kind of a unique situation. I don't recall that in the Microsoft one that was even a thing. So very, very interesting at that. So it dives right into the question here. If you did answer the phone and you did give out information, what do you do next?
Well, if you gave out any personally identifiable information, so if you gave out your social security number, bank account information, any account numbers or passwords or email information, this could potentially lead to identity theft. It might lead to you being targeted for more scams, but we always tell consumers not to give out their personally identifiable information when unsolicited, meaning you did not seek the service, you're not going after it, they're calling you. So I would definitely contact Consumer Protection and get the information about what to do next, because you're going to want to do some credit report checks. You're going to want to follow with your bank and monitor things very closely. If you don't have a security freeze in place, you may want to put that in place to lock down your credit report so no one can access and use your information to gain other services or extensions of credit in your name, which in turn is identity theft. So reach out to Consumer Protection and we can help guide you through those next steps and get you that fact sheet information. And you can do that by going to our website or just calling the DATCP Consumer Protection Hotline.
Another thing you'll find at the website, and something we've talked about on this show many times, is keeping your electronics up to date in security and updates. I know years ago people were afraid to do it because they thought, oh, I'll get more viruses if I do it, and it's kind of always been all across the board. But you and DATCP has done a great job of emphasizing why it's so important to do that. And if you could just tell the folks again, from your perspective, that it does pay off in the end to do those updates.
Yeah, it really does. Keeping your operating system up to date will, really minimize. It will help the virus scan. It will prevent scammers from being able to get in easily. We won't say all the time, but when you're at that latest operating system, they're putting security patches in for gaps and making sure that based on the viruses that are circulating, their systems are as up to date as possible. With that, make sure your passwords are up to date and changed regularly. And that's one tip, that if you gave out a password as part of this scam, make sure you get in there and change that so no one can access your information. But we're going to cover a lot of those details in October when we talk, because October is Cybersecurity Month. So it's a good segue into what's coming next month.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking the time and going through all of those steps, always a good reminder as well. Are we expecting, given the political season and everything, to see more of these aggressive type of calls? Like, again, I've never seen something like this before, where it was so aggressive in nature. But are we expecting more of this, whether it's a political season or just this tactic?
Well, I don't know that we can tie it to anything political in nature. They might be a little desperate because they had time off due to COVID. It's hard to know. Maybe they thought the aggression would work for them as well, just wear you down in the persistence of thinking that really you did have a problem, so you have to respond. They're trying so hard to get a hold of you. It's hard to know. Scam artists use a number of different techniques in order to play on consumers' emotions and vulnerabilities and getting them to respond and engage. So I think the best advice is just to remember to be on the Consumer Protection Do Not Call list. That will block telephone solicitations to you. It will send to businesses that you don't want to receive solicitations by phone. And if you then receive one, you know that company isn't following the regulations. Scammers will run their imposter techniques or their phishing tactics by phone. They'll spoof your phone number so you know not to answer those or just hang up. And report them to Consumer Protection so we can follow, because there's that new federal legislation, the TRACE Act, that went into place at the end of 2019. And then also understand it is a political year. It's an election year. And so consumers will receive political calls, whether it be polling or just get out the vote type situations or individual candidate calls. And those are not covered by the Wisconsin Do Not Call list because they're not soliciting a good or service. They're there to just encourage consumers to take an action, whatever that may be. So you can always ask to be put on their internal Do Not Call lists and see if you can help minimize those phone calls.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you touching on that. I know it's not exactly about the Applecare, but definitely playing in a role on, phone calls in general. So, Michelle, thank you so much for breaking it down. I appreciate it. If people want to learn more about this or places to report this, where can they do that?
Please contact DATCP Consumer Protection Hotline at 1-800-422-7128 or go to our website at datcp.wi.gov.
I have it in my favorites, and you should do the same, Michelle. Thank you so very much. We'll catch up with you later this month.
Sounds great. Thank you.
You bet. One of our many great resources, Department of Trade Consumer Protection. Check out their website. They keep you up to date on what's going on and protecting you all the time. Take a quick break. More to come. You're watching Talking Fitchburg.